Okay, just a quick demo on setting up the TuneBoy cruise control and tune kit. So you can see here, this is the diagnostic connector, this is the TuneBoy, this is the cable from the TuneBoy, goes into the diagnostic connector, and you'll see when you plug it in, the power light comes on. The MTS light will start to flash. Now I'm running a MacBook here, and for some reason my Wi-Fi doesn't seem to be working on my TuneBoy, so I'm using the USB cable. So I plug it into my MacBook. I'm running VMware Fusion with a Windows 7 virtual machine. Fusion asks me where I would like to connect the USB device to, and obviously I will choose connect to Windows. At this point I will turn the ignition on. Run the Flash Mitsubishi, let me just make this go full screen first. Flash Mitsubishi utility, whoops. Okay, you'll hear the bike doing its song and dance, and you can see the ECU serial number and a few other bits of information here. I'll then go and select the tune file. So mine is a 2013 model, so I'll choose the 2013 to 2014 cruise and tune. Now, as I had already prepared my ECU, I don't need to do the initial flash into the ECU. If you read the instructions, you'll see that you need to do it twice. The first time is preparing the ECU, and the second time is actually loading up the tune and the trim file, or the trim table if you're loading up a trim table. Now, since I don't have the standard exhaust, I do need to load a trim table. Also because I've got the nudge buttons for the cruise control, which connects to the rear oxygen sensor, rear being the rear cylinder oxygen sensor, and I'll show you that in a sec. Mine's got the full Termi kit, running TuneBoy trim. This is where you do the trim tables, and this is where you configure the nudge buttons. So you can see there's a few options here: nudge buttons fitted, nudge buttons with resume function. This use menu up and down only applies to the Panigale, or you could have no nudge function. So I've chosen the nudge buttons with resume function, so you click OK on that, and then that is configured on the bike. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flash this bike again, because I've decided I'd like to check out the feature where you can have multiple maps, and select them when you start the bike by holding the throttle open at full throttle and then pulling in the clutch and releasing it. So we choose our tune file, and then we choose our trim maps. So this will be the first one, and you'll see this button has now changed and gives me the option to apply a second trim table to the tune. So I'll go and choose this one, which is essentially the same anyway, and again the button changes to allow me to apply a third one. I'm just going to have the two, because all I really want to do is test this feature out. So we'll now go ahead and flash the map into the ECU. You'll see it's preparing the ECU now. Okay, now I need to turn the bike off. I've read elsewhere that we should leave it off for 30 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it off for 30 seconds. I'll exit this. Alright, I guess that's been about 30 seconds, so let's turn the bike back on. This is going to be difficult. Okay, you'll see there when I went full throttle, the tacho went up to 5,000 RPM. That indicates it's the first trim file that I loaded. Okay, so I pulled the clutch lever in and it went to 7,500 RPM, and that indicates it was the second trim file that I loaded. So I've now gone back to the first one. You'll also maybe notice that the headlights came on when I did that, and that's just to indicate that your map selection has been successful. So nudge buttons are installed here. The cable runs down in here and connects to the oxygen sensor cable for the rear vertical cylinder, and I found it's actually slightly short for where I did my cable routing, and perhaps if I took more of the bike apart that wouldn't be an issue, but the cable runs down through here, in behind there, comes up here and into the handlebars. So the next part of this video will be to show you the nudge buttons and the cruise control in action.